White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki appeared to decline to condemn the leak of the Supreme Court draft that would overturn Roe v. Wade, giving power back to the states regarding abortion laws. Joining us now to discuss is the author of this book on your screen, Desecrators, and also the chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp. He is live in studio. Hey, Matt, good to see you.
Great to be with you, Emma.
It's wonderful to have you here. I'd like to play you this soundbite. This is Jen Psaki.
Right.
She was asked about the leak. Here's what she had to say.
That's up for the Department of Justice and others to determine. What our focus is on is not getting our distracted or our eye off the ball of what is most important to people across the country here, which is not the leak and the story of the leak. It is the fact that women's health care is at risk for millions of people across this country.
Your reaction to that?
That's outrageous. That is the President of the United States. And let's face it, Jen Psaki is as much the president as anyone because she's all we ever hear from his administration. But that is an attempt to change and manipulate votes on the Supreme Court. We have three branches of government. They are independent. And there is no role for the president to try to bully Supreme Court justices to support abortion through 9 months. And what she did, she compounded the crime of the leak by the constitutional outrage of trying to threaten these justices. And by the way, they're coordinating with these groups that are going to go to these justices' homes. I got it on my phone this morning. There's a map where all the justices live. They're going to now attempt to bully these justices before they make their final decisions. Remember, this was just a leak of a draft of an opinion. They haven't decided where they're going to be yet, and they're going to try to change their positions. And look, they're not members of Congress. You don't lobby the justices. They are supposed to be introspective and talk amongst themselves, and then to make public their final decision.
Right. The Chief Justice confirming that it was an authentic draft, but of course, as you point out, it's not the final version. So things could possibly change. We would wait and see if votes would change.
Right. You need
as
5,
well.
right? So,
right.
And the more you have, the more of a strong statement it makes. Roe v. Wade has never been sound constitutional law. So they're trying to peel off every justice they can.
President Biden was, of course, asked to comment on this as well. And here's what he had to say about the future of Roe v. Wade. Take a listen.
What happens if you have a state changes the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children? Is that legit under the way the decision is written? What are the next things that are going to be attacked? Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
So really, 2 points kind of to follow up there on questions. The possibility of the overturn of Roe v. Wade could have an impact on previous court decisions as well. He mentioned the future of LGBTQ students in the classroom there, but then also his description of the MAGA crowd. Your response to both of those?
Yeah, so it's just Joe Biden is really doing a disservice to his office. First of all, the MAGA crowd and Donald Trump was very inviting to people of the gay community to be a part of his coalition. And I know a lot of gay MAGA supporters that were happy to be involved in supporting Donald Trump. So to act like the MAGA movement was somehow wanting to kick gay kids out of classrooms, I mean, this is just a scare tactic once again. Look, the question of abortion, it's emotional for people. People have different views. And the whole reason to have a democracy is that the people get to decide what they want. I don't know any state that wants to kick kids out of classrooms. That's a scare tactic to make you think that if you stand up for the Constitution on the question of abortion, that somehow there'll be societal chaos. Actually, it'll help heal wounds because the people will decide instead of people adding words to the Constitution that simply aren't there.
And again, we're waiting for that final announcement. Perhaps it could be June, early June, or even late June as well.
Right.
Matt Schlapp, thanks so much for joining us in studio today.
Thank you for having me here.
You are so welcome.